The flight from Seattle to New York was delayed 3 times. Then rerouted once. Then delayed again. By the time passengers finally boarded, nobody was in a good mood. Especially Victoria Reynolds. As CEO of one of the largest logistics companies in the country, she was used to solving problems. Not sitting inside them. Unfortunately, weather didn't care about job titles. Neither did airports. Victoria collapsed into her first-class seat and opened her laptop. 300 unread emails. 2 acquisition meetings. 1 board presentation. And approximately 0 hours of sleep. Not ideal. The man seated beside her looked considerably calmer. Daniel Carter. 41 years old. Single father. Architect. He had spent the delay helping a family whose stroller had broken. Then helped an elderly passenger locate a misplaced medication bag. And somehow still looked relaxed. Victoria noticed. Most people traveling in first class either ignored others or pretended not to. Daniel wasn't one of them. The plane finally took off. Victoria returned to work immediately. Typing. Reviewing reports. Answering messages. Daniel spent most of the flight reading a novel. For nearly 2 hours, they barely spoke. Then turbulence arrived. Not dangerous turbulence. Just enough to make working impossible. Victoria finally closed her laptop. Daniel glanced over. Long day? Victoria laughed. Long year. That answer started a conversation. The kind that happens unexpectedly. Naturally. Without effort. They talked about travel. Work. Parenting. Daniel mentioned his 12-year-old daughter, Emma. The way he talked about her made Victoria smile. Every sentence carried pride. Not the bragging kind. The grateful kind. The conversation continued. Then gradually slowed. The cabin lights dimmed. Passengers settled in. The steady hum of the engines filled the air. Victoria blinked several times. Then several more. Daniel noticed. You should sleep. She laughed. I don't have time. You literally have nowhere else to go. Victoria couldn't argue with that. A few minutes later, she closed her eyes. Just for a moment. At least that was the plan. It didn't work. Within minutes, exhaustion won. Completely. Her head slowly tilted sideways. Then farther. Then farther still. Until it gently landed on Daniel's shoulder. Several nearby passengers noticed. One flight attendant noticed too. Daniel looked down. Victoria was asleep. Completely asleep. Not the polite resting your eyes kind. The genuinely exhausted kind. The kind that comes after too many late nights and too much responsibility. Daniel smiled softly. Then returned to his book. That was all. No photographs. No jokes. No attempt to wake her. Nothing. For nearly 2 hours, he sat completely still. Even when his shoulder started to ache. Even when he wanted to adjust his position. Even when the flight attendant quietly offered to move her. Daniel shook his head. She's finally resting. The attendant smiled. And left them alone. Hours later, the plane began its descent. Victoria stirred. Slowly. Then froze. Because she immediately realized where she was. Her head was resting on Daniel's shoulder. Her eyes widened. Oh no. She sat upright instantly. I'm so sorry. Daniel laughed. It's okay. No, it's not. It really is. Victoria covered her face. I can't believe I did that. Daniel smiled. You looked like you needed the sleep. The answer somehow made her feel even worse. And strangely better at the same time. Then the flight attendant walked by. With a grin. Best behavior I've seen from a seatmate in years. Victoria frowned. What does that mean? The attendant laughed. He sat completely still for almost 2 hours. Victoria turned toward Daniel. What? Daniel suddenly became very interested in the safety card. The flight attendant wasn't finished. He wouldn't even let us wake you. Victoria stared. Then stared some more. Because nobody had ever done something so considerate for her. Not strangers. Not colleagues. Not even some people she had dated. And Daniel had done it without expecting recognition. Without expecting anything. The plane landed. Passengers began collecting their belongings. But Victoria couldn't stop thinking about what she'd just learned. Because small actions often reveal big truths. And Daniel's action revealed something important. Very important. As they walked through the terminal, Victoria turned toward him. I owe you dinner. Daniel laughed. For what? For sacrificing your shoulder. That seems excessive. Maybe. She smiled. But I'm buying anyway. Daniel considered it. Then nodded. Okay. Neither realized that dinner would become another. And another. And another. Until one evening, several months later, Victoria would discover a secret about Daniel's past so surprising. That she'd question whether she'd ever truly known the man whose shoulder had changed everything. Dinner became a weekly tradition. Then twice a week. Then something neither of them bothered labeling anymore. Because some relationships grow quietly. Without announcements. Without plans. Just two people discovering they genuinely enjoy each other's company. Victoria learned Daniel always answered Emma's calls, no matter how busy he was. Daniel learned Victoria secretly loved terrible detective shows and somehow guessed the culprit wrong every single time. Victoria insisted that was an unfair exaggeration. Daniel insisted it wasn't. Emma agreed with him. Which Victoria claimed was a conspiracy. Months passed. And for the first time in years, Victoria found herself looking forward to something besides work. Then came the charity gala. The event was supposed to be simple. A fundraiser. A few speeches. A dinner. Nothing unusual. At least, that's what Victoria expected. Instead, it changed everything. The ballroom was packed with executives, investors, politicians, and media personalities. As Victoria entered, people immediately surrounded her. Questions. Introductions. Requests. The usual. Daniel stayed nearby but comfortably out of the spotlight. He never seemed interested in attention. One of the things Victoria liked most about him. Halfway through the evening, a distinguished older man approached. The moment he saw Daniel, he stopped walking.